Hello guys, this is your friend Uzumkai Universe 2.0 and we are back in new fanfic. What if Naruto returned only after Tsunade begged him to save Konoha? Part 2. By the look of things between Rock Lee the Taijutsu Master of Konoha and the new Shade the legendary assassin, it would be clash of titans. Both stood there for a moment. Green and blue energy all around them. Lee's face was red and his eyes a pupilless white, the shade in icy blue, though his skin remained the same. Lee noticed he was 2 gates over his enemy. It was something that vexed him. He looked at Shade and said, I have done much research on your predecessor, the first Shade, the legendary taijutsu master. He was known as the old school assassin, preferring physical combat and stealth, a true master of both. For you to have his title means you are strong enough to earn it. No response came, so Lee continued, I was trained by Konohagakure's beautiful green beast, the taijutsu master Might Gui, the welder of the flames of youth. So with that said, what I want to know about you is, why did you only go up 2 gates to my 5? The Shade spoke for the first real time since his arrival, his muffled yet deep voice still showing no real emotion to it, a pure and cold, the voice of a professional assassin. Because you're not worth the extra effort, comrade killer. Lee's tone to this was sad. I see. I guess I'll have to prove you wrong. Lee's eyes glowed with purpose. Lee charged at Shade, delivering a flying kick. Shade moved out of the way and was seen on a nearby roof. Arms crossed, Lee joined him again, jumping at the impossible height for someone with no chakra control, and tried a punch which Shade caught and with his free hand in the span of a blink struck Lee in the ribs, then the face. As Lee went back from the hit, he was pulled close for a knee to the kidneys, then elbow the side of the head, knocking him to the ground. Instead of just getting up, Lee went for a upward kick for the primary lotus, but what he got was Shade grabbing his leg, lifting him over Shade's head and slamming him through the roof. Lee stumbled out the front door of the restaurant he just went through. Shade leapt off the building and landed a few feet away with a powerful force. Lee flew at Shade with a right punch. The assassin moved his head so the punch missed, but as the punch was passing, Lee bent his arm and elbowed Shade on the side of his jaw. As Shade's head turned from the impact, Lee then spun and hit Shade in the gut with his foot, doubling Shade over and kneeing Shade's face as Lee was going for another punch. Shade moved and gave Lee a hard right kick, knocking Lee back, then a left hook to Lee's side, a right to the ribs and one to the face. The dazed shinobi tried to block when he felt a hard finger hit his arm, then leg, then neck, left arm and right leg. The pain was unreal. Then he realized to his shock Shade was using the Hyuga gentle fist. Others caught on in shock as well. After Shade finished the move, he gave Lee a sharp kick back to the ground. Lee struggled back up the gates he had on, dissolved away, returning to his usual self. The Shade version of the Hyuga style hurt like hell. His body wanted to drop, but Lee wouldn't have it. I cannot lose to you, he said, tired and hurt with a pained tone in his voice. You have hurt my friends and I swore to never let that happen again. Shade's response was blunt. Well, you failed. As Shade made his way to Lee, he said coldly, you have gotten in my way, Lee, now pay the price. Pulling his knife out, he walked to Lee when he heard the sound of something coming at him at high speeds, jumping back before the crash. Shade then knew from the bowl haircut and green spandex it was a very angry Might Gui. His goofy over-the-top personality was replaced with a hardened shinobi's will to kill. He looked at his former student. Lee, you've done enough, but now it's my turn. Lee looked at him. Gui-sensei, this is my fight. I have to stop him myself. Gui looked at Lee. This is not up for discussion, Lee. You have come a long way with and without me to train you. Lee was taken by surprise. Giving his student a look of respect, you are the splendid shinobi you always wanted to be, but this man was trained by one of my heroes. He is probably one of the most dangerous taijutsu users in the world, and I will not see you fall to him. With that last part, Gui started opening the inner gates. At this started to really annoy Shade, while his target Kamen couldn't be having more enjoyment from it. I have no quarrel with you, Gui. Allow me to deal with that bastard Kamen and you will not see me again, but if you wish to proceed with this I will kill you without hesitation. Shade's tone was deadly serious. The power that Gui had didn't bother him in the slightest. I know you were trained by the great original Shade, so I doubt I can best you easily, but I will not stand for you attacking my students, and unfortunately Kamen is important to Konoha's survival. Shade stared him down with his menacing blue eyes, then Konoha will die with him. Gui charged Shade and delivered a kick which Shade blocked with one arm not even moving. Open fifth gate, Shade said a blast of power throw Gui back Asuma trench knives in hand and Kurenai joined Gui. Great, the teachers and friends to traders have joined in on this. Konoha is running out of people who are worth a damn. Tsunade jumped in front of them followed by Jiraiya and Kakashi after being healed but a beaten Hinata and Sakura. If it isn't the bitch herself, Shade said coldly, I'm really starting to hate you more and more. Jiraiya said, Shade giving him an annoyed look and replied, given the reputations you three have involving friends, students and lovers all live longer that way. Kamen laughter was loud as he said, he's got you there. Shut up. Kakashi said angrily at both Shade and Kamen. I'm tired of this Tsunade-sama between the five of us we can take him. Shade looked at him sharply. Because that worked so well the last time Hataki, I am better than Konoha's elite. The fact that you lived this long is because you're not my target. All I want is Kamen, nothing more. Besides, I doubt whatever he's offered you to is real. Tsunade looked at him perplexed. He's paid us already, so we must honor the agreement, Shade said, cutting her off and looked at the grinning Kamen. How much? 310 million, Kamen returned. How much of it is real? Everyone's eyes widened at that remark and all looked at Kamen, who smiled widely, not a Ryo. What? A Tsunade said angry, but I saw it with my own eyes. I have our most trusted accounts looking at it. As we speak, Shinobi started to crowd Kamen and his men, angry with the still grinning man. You wouldn't dare, not with you still in the city. Shade voice gave off, and I know something you don't. Vibe for everyone there who wasn't Kamen. Are you so sure about that? Kamen said, daring Shade. His men were shaking. Shade looked at Tsunade. If I were you, I'd get Jiraiya and your Ambu to the location that money is at now. Kamen raised an eyebrow. When did you start caring about Konoha? Since I'm currently standing in it and I'm not leaving without your head, Guro, was Shade reply. What are you two talking about? Tsunade yelled, shaking with rage. We once destroyed a village of thieves by paying them off with money, but in truth they were actually explosive tags that we made to look like genuine cash. I wouldn't be surprised if you accounts couldn't tell the difference, but I doubt they're all tags. Are they, Kamen? Kamen smirked. True, there's only about 10,000. I only wanted to, with Konoha destroying it comes later and it's a lot more fun. Tsunade yelled. Jiraiya, Ambu, get to lock up now, the rest stop these two. As she turned to Shade, she realized he was gone from his spot, jumped towards Kamen with his gates still very much active. Kamen moved easily out of the way with a smile. This should be a good time putting you back in your place, little brother. Shade was visibly angry at being called that, and with a swipe of his knife struck at Kamen, who stopped it with a blade hidden in his cane. The two locked blades. Ambu attacked them. Shade swung around with a spin kick, knocking them down. Stay out of this, he screamed. I agree, Kamen said, killing the Ambu in his end. Going back to his fight with Shade, the two men started swinging and blocking and slashing and parrying each other. Shade, the master assassin, and Kamen, the mysterious former client. Their fighting was crazy. Shade was losing ground to him but was yelling when he jumped back. Why? Was what he said. Sensei Goda Akane Hina. Their blades clashed. Fang. Shade parried. Drake. Kamen blocked. Doc. Shade with a high kick. Kamen moves back. Kyoko. Shade's attack becomes stronger. Chi. Finishing with a hard punch to Kamen's face, sending him flying back. Why? Exclamation mark. Why did you kill them? Shade said clearly, rage filled a pained tone in his voice. Kyoko looked up to you like an uncle. Chi loved you like a brother. Sensei took you in like you were his son. Doc, Drake and Fang were our comrades, and Goda trusted you with his life and that of Akane and Hina, so why did you do it? Money, power, the throne, why? Shade's tone was desperate, asking for the truth that plagued him. Kamen raised from the spot, blood licking from his mouth. Shinobi all around watching the drama play out, many more not wanting to go between the two, knowing full well it would mean death. Kamen smiled and stared to laugh. It was loud and monstrous and crazy. Ha ha ha, simple brother, I don't want to be forgotten. I didn't want to be just another name edged into the Guardian's tome so only the overprivileged can read if they feel like it, to be known only by friends and forgotten in the next generation. No, I am Guro Kamen. I will be remembered from the beggars to the whores to the generals to the daimyos to the emperors to the very gods. Shade looked at Kamen angrily. Why did they have to die, Guro? Guro smiled. Because The old man wouldn't have allowed me to go freely because I needed Steel Tree's military to start, so obviously Gota had to go and his family, so no one could stop me with their right of birth. I doubt he Doc Drake or Fang would let that happen. Those three were all way too loyal, and I was mostly right. It's unfortunate Lin wasn't there, but what can you do? Shade was even angrier, but Kamen continued. And as for Kyoko and Chi, while that brings us to my other reason, Shade was silent for this as Kamen stared into his cold blue eyes, into his very soul. I did this to get you good and pissed so we could have the fight I have wanted from you the whole time. When we unlocked the ninth gate together, that was when I knew you were the one thing I needed to cement my legacy as the deadliest man in the world. They died because of you. Naruto Uzumaki. A course of widening eyes of mouths agape as the assassin known as Shade in anger removed his hood and mask, revealing his face. It confirmed who he was: his spiked blonde hair, his raging blue eyes, whiskered face more defined now that he is an adult, a cross-shaped scar going down his right eye to his cheek. No one could believe it. Naruto, Tsunade whispered as she was going to approach him unconsciously. It can't be, Sakura said, tears in her eyes. Naruto-kun, Hinata said, about to cry. How? Was all the shocked Sasuke could say. Naruto is alive, Kakashi said, on the verge of a heart attack. It was a mixed bag of emotions. Tsunade was getting closer when she heard, stay back Senju or I'll kill you where you stand. Naruto's voice left no room for debate, his trusty knife pointing at her. The only reason you're not dead is because Kamen is here. You got in the way of that too many times already, and for that the next step you take will be your last. Everyone present was frightened. Even the Sannin. Naruto was merciless in their fight and was ready to kill given the chance. Naruto, please, Sakura shouted. Let us. She was cut off with. You heard him, he wants to be a big boy and get the job done. Rikamaru sensei always was a one target, one kill type of guy, training Naruto here to do the same thing. Nothing else is important to him right now, not even you people. The only reason I hired you was to piss him off and you made it happen. Good job. Kamen grinned, but seeing as Naruto told you about the fake cash, I guess I don't need to hide it anymore. With that, Kamen used his strange chakra ring on the seal on the forehead of his silver-skulled cane blade. When the seal started to glow, Neji realized, that's the detonator. Everyone move. Shinobi scattered at the Konoha resource and accounting firm. The money was going through Sincerity, where it is checked and counted. Shizune, as Tsunade's most trusted assistant, was overlooking things, leaning by the door, boredom showing in her eyes. Each bill was going through 3 different hands. A Hyuga Ambu who checks the bills for traps with his Byakugan eyes. A quality tester makes sure the bills are real given the size of the sum of money. Any of them could be fake, and an actual accountant for keeping the numbers to bad. The money is unbelievably good. Fakes, no traps. This one's real. 1,801,000. No traps. This one's real. 1,802,000. No traps. This one's real. 1,803,000. Ambu. At the ready at all times, but by God they hated this part of the job. The novelty of so much money lost the appeal during this stage. Hours of listening to no traps. This one's real. 1 million. Whatever it was, also a type of training for them to deal with tedious tasks like gate guard duty and long-term surveillance. As they were counting, the Hyuga grabbed another bill, and when he looked, his eyes widened, especially when it started to glow. He shouted, Shizune, getting her attention. Run. Those were his last words. Shizune bolted to the door before 10,000 paper bombs went off. At the explosions, shock waves smashed her, throw the door, fling her down the hallway. Fire followed close behind her. She hit the wall as the flames come closer and closer. She let out a scream, closing her eyes, preparing for the pain, but a forceful grip on her arm was all Shizune felt before being thrown through a window. She opened her eyes fast enough to see the Ambu that saved Burn alive. From the outside of the KRA, Jiraiya was running as fast as he could, but the blast rocked the village, covering his eyes from the flash and debris. Parts of the building landed on houses, shops, and people. Jiraiya, only by the grace of the Almighty, saw Shizune falling after being thrown, and as fast as he possibly could, he summoned his fastest toad to leap and get her. He looked at the destruction all around him, screaming, crying, fire engulfing the last of village's savings. More importantly, to the death of so many innocent people. Jiraiya may not like a vast majority of the people of Konoha these days, but he wasn't so jaded not to feel bad for them. But right now he turned to the accompaniment of Ambu-Janan and Chunin and ordered, "Go out there, look for survivors, you get the medics, you take the east, you the west, you the south, you the north, go go go." Ninja flying all around him as he was giving orders. "I'm going back for the Hokage and to deal with the bastard responsible." He inserted double the amount of chakra into his legs that he was storing to deal with the bombs and gunned it. "Tsunade, you better be okay." Back at Konoha gates, so many saw the explosion. The shinobi with families in the blast zone were worried. Sick Tsunade saw this and couldn't believe her eyes. When they turned to see the thought-dead Naruto, however, she found he didn't even bother to look at the destruction. His frozen blue eyes were entirely focused on Kamen. And he was watching Naruto. "You know, I thought that would have got at least a small reaction from you, Naruto. I mean, this was your village once," Kamen said, a little disappointed. Naruto said coldly, "Does it look like I care about any of them, Guro? They're traitors, every last one of them." Tsunade at the statement felt her heart sink, as did many in attendance hearing such a thing from to some a friend to Tsunade's son and to most the son of the fourth. It cut deeply. Tsunade didn't know what to do about, but she looked to her soldiers and ordered, "All shinobi with families, go find you loved ones." As those shinobi left, she continued, "Even though it hurt, the rest of you get Kamen and capture Naruto alive and unharmed." "Good luck with that, Senju," Kamen said and continued, "Boys, time to have some fun." Kamen's bodyguards ran to his aid and Kamen removed his long jacket. Naruto got into his battle stance. Konoha shinobi prepared for a fight. Tsunade didn't know if she should help or capture Naruto because she once tried to have Naruto killed and he didn't seem to have forgiven her for that too. Whoever Kamen really is has pissed off not only Naruto but all of Konoha and 3. Naruto was apparently trained with the legendary assassin the Shade himself, so she doubted anyone could take him, but she needed to know what happened to the one-time child she thought of as a son. Naruto and Kamen watched each when they heard, "Now," an order from Tsunade was their trigger. They disappeared. Before anyone got to them, Kamen's men fought the shinobi and did a pretty good job of it too, but the two students of the Shade nka Rikamaru were found on a rooftop. Sparks were flying from their blades as they clashed, slashing and stabbing at each other, blocking, parrying, kicking, punching at speeds most couldn't comprehend. But to their surprise, Kamen managed to get a cut on Naruto's cheek and Naruto got Kamen's side. Then, as if it was a person fighting his own shadow, the two high kicks connected. Then using their other's leg as leverage, they kicked with the other leg, then the other. Naruto took one to the rib, Kamen to the shoulder, kicking off the other. They back flip away. "It's been a while since we fought, Naruto, but I thought you were stronger than this," Kamen said, grinning till a knife hit his hat off his head from a shinobi who charged at Kamen, only to get a kunai to the head by one of Kamen's men, killing him. While Kamen was distracted, he failed to see Naruto's elbow hitting him square in the face, making him fall. Naruto, on top of his one-time friend, started punching Kamen hard in the face, making the back of his head crack. The roof they were on, all Naruto could say was, "Die, you bastard, die, die, die," as Naruto was about to deliver another blow when he was stopped by Jiraiya, not knowing the identity of the Shade since he was gone, who grabbed his hand when Naruto turned to shove his ex-godfather away. He ended up feeling a sharp pain in his gut. His wide-eyed former godfather looked down to see the knife sticking out of Naruto's stomach as Naruto looked down to see Kamen, a blood on his face but no major damage. His 5 gates disappeared. He leaned over and fell. Jiraiya caught him, but Kamen kicked them away. "You know, Naruto, I'm disappointed in you," Kamen said. "Look at everyone I killed over the years that you loved and still you failed. I know you're better than that." Naruto lead up from Jiraiya. "Ka. Dotmon. I will kill you, you bastard." Kamen smiled. "That's the spirit, Naruto." Naruto tried to pull the knife out, but Jiraiya grabbed his hand, keeping him from doing so. Tsunade may have been the medic of his old team, but Jiraiya knew if that knife was pulled out, Naruto would lose too much blood, and with his anti-Jinchuriki seal still on Naruto from when he tried to kill him, it meant no healing ability from Kyuubi and Naruto would die. Naruto, you have to stop pulling that blade out, it will kill you. Jiraiya screamed, tears in his eyes, trying to get through to the boy he thought of as a son and greatest sin he ever committed. So now. You care, Jiraiya, after everything you've done to me? Naruto painfully said. I don't care if I die as long as Guro joins me on the trip to hell. At hearing that, Naruto's former friends felt their hearts stop. When Guro Kamen heard this, he had a grin of amusement. Well, Naruto, you failed again. I'd say listen to Jiraiya on this one, though. I want you at your best for our real fight. Naruto looked at him with a hated. None of his former friends thought he was capable of having. He started to struggle. Jiraiya's have was still steady on the blade, keeping it from moving, that is, until Naruto head-butted him with the back of his head to Jiraiya's face, freeing him. Guro! Naruto shouted, the pain in his gut forcing him to his knees, but he got back up. He was running on anger alone. I'll kill the entirety of Konoha to get to you, every last one of them. Kamen looked at him for a moment. In his mind's eye he saw a bleeding angel and Naruto saw a monster from hell itself. Kamen smirked. Everyone in Konoha I wonder what your father would say about that. Naruto looked at the monster, only he could see as he continued running, screaming. I don't care what he'd say, he's dead. Him, the Konoha shinobi were shocked, the fourth's own son saying such a thing about him, even more so when with the anger behind it Naruto vanished till they saw him punch Kamen across the building, to Kamen's surprise. But Kamen did a flip and landed on his feet, only to get a knee to the gut and a knife to the shoulder blade. He was used to pain though, and he punched the knife in Naruto's stomach, drive it deeper, then kicked it, making Naruto grunt in pain as he flew to the ground. Kamen managed to get up and held his shoulder, smiling at what happened. I'll give you credit for that one, Naruto. He walked up to Naruto, delivered a boot to his face. Naruto was in a massive amount of pain but held it in. But it's still not good enough. Kamen then stomped on Naruto's chest. Leave him alone. Kamen heard Sakura shout as she tried to punch him. He moved back and avoided Lee's kick, then Sasuke's sword, Neji's plum, Tenten's spar, Choji's hammer, Kiba's claws, Hinata's kick, Ino's kunai, Shikamaru's shadows. Is that your best? Kamen said, unimpressed, but he stared to feel his energy being drained. What's this? Kamen said, annoyed and confused. He reached behind his back and pulled out a handful of little blue beetles. He crushed them and said, totally forgot about you, Shino, but I suppose you get that a lot. The bug user known as Shino adjusted his shades. Yes, I do, annoying as it might be, but I've had you and Naruto tagged since his fight with the Hyugas and you when you destroyed Hira's tower, but I must say I had to stop with trying to drain Naruto. My insects keep dying and I don't know why. It was a statement, not a question. Kamen was a little angry with Shino. And here I thought you weren't a threat, Shino, when you despaired. I just thought you were a coward. He looked at Naruto and gave a small nonchalant wave. See you later, brother. I'll tell the rest of the guys you said hi. Don't you dare leave, you bastard. Naruto yelled, but Kamen's response was, open first gate. The blast of energy caused Shino's bugs to explode and he vanished from sight. Naruto jumped up yelling. Guro came back here. He was going after him when Tsunade grabbed him. Wait, Naruto. You can't leave, you're hurt and I'm not letting you go even if you weren't. A punch from an angry Naruto was the response she got as she turned from the impact. He kicked her, but her grip didn't give. She accidentally pulled him, and as she let go he fell off the roof, landing hard on his back. The force made him spit up blood. Naruto! She screamed in fear for his health. Kamen's bodyguards heard her and noticed Naruto. One of them run at him, attempting to finish him, but was stopped by Tsunade with a single punch. She encaved the bodyguard's face in. The remaining four ran at her but were butchered by Sakura, Tenten, Kiba and Sasuke. Tsunade turned to see Naruto, worried. She ran to him. Tears ran down his eyes as he stared blankly into nothing as if possessed. He with a weak voice, Kyoko. I'm sorry. I failed you, please forgive me. He started to reach for something. Tsunade was wondering what was happening when she saw Kurenai in her genjutsu stance. Kurenai, what are you showing him? Kurenai, still in stance, said, it's a desire genjutsu, it's showing him the thing he wants most. Kurenai, being the caster, could see what Naruto saw. It was a woman and little girl. The woman was about the same age as Naruto with enchanting sweet violet eyes with long chestnut hair that was tied in a ponytail. She was wearing a brown farmer's kimono, nothing really fancy, and banana wrapped around her head. She had a body that made Kurenai a little jealous, but what caught her eye most was the child. The little girl in question must have been all of 4 years old. She had long crimson red hair with lovely ocean blue eyes that almost seemed to sparkle in an infection's smile. Kurenai couldn't help but be happy at the sight of her, but as she looked at Naruto, she could feel the sadness leaking off of him as she looked at them. I'm sorry, Chi. I'm sorry, Kyoko. I wasn't there for you. I never thought Guro would go this far. Naruto started to stand, blood leaking from his wounds. Naruto, you have to stop now. Kurenai, stop the jutsu now, Tsunade ordered, but she saw Kurenai had tears in her eyes. She put the pieces together. She didn't register the Hokage's orders at all. Tsunade turned to Naruto as he said, I'll get him for you, all of them, they're all dead. Naruto shouted angrily, then squeezed the knife wound and screamed in angry pain, but it broke the jutsu. Rage filled his eyes. How dare you, Kurenai? His eyes turned to her. She flinched at the gaze. How dare you make me see that? Naruto phased from existence, then reappeared behind her with his spare knife to her throat, his other arm wrapped around her waist, keeping her from moving. Naruto saw the regret in her eyes before he moved, but that was no excuse to him. Naruto, stop, please let her go. Asuma yelled, fear in his voice as Naruto was about to slit her throat when he stopped. The hand around her waist moved to the center of his belly, anger still very visible in his eyes, but he did something surprising. He let her go and pushed her aside, not with so much force to harm her, just enough to move her. Go, Kurenai. If I see you in this again, I'm taking one of your eyes. Got that? Kurenai nodded and backed away slowly. Asuma right there to get her. Asuma wanted to know why Naruto would let her go, but fear gripped him in case Naruto changed his mind. Even now he was quite dangerous. Take her away, Asuma, now, Naruto ordered dangerously. Naruto, I'm sore. Kurenai started but was cut off. What I just gave you was for the child, but the offer doesn't extend to the father. Keep it to yourself and leave now. Asuma was surprised at what he just heard. He gently grabbed Kurenai and looked at Tsunade for what she'd say. Go, Asuma. With a nod, he and Kurenai vanished. Naruto, how did you know? Tsunade said, puzzled. That's my business, Senju, was the reply. I've wasted too much time on you traitors. Guro is gone and I'm too injured to get him because of that worthless Jiraiya. I'm leaving and I won't hesitate. Kill everyone here to do so. The shinobi in attendance flinched. Many drew their weapons. Fight or flight about to take hold. All shinobi, don't kill Naruto or you're next. They stopped immediately at that. Trying to save that pleasure for yourself, Senju, Naruto said, holding his wound as he stared to breath heavily. I'm not going down without a fight, and this time my back isn't turned. Naruto, you idiot, I'm trying to help you, Tsunade said, tears in her eyes. The only thing that made me an idiot was trusting you. You're nothing but poison, Senju. Naruto, despite all efforts, was getting tired. He had a job to do, and come hell or high water he was going to see it through to the end. Tsunade couldn't believe what she just heard. She was going to cry but held off. She had something to do first, and that was to save Naruto whether he liked it or not. Naruto, if I have to take you down in order to save you, I will. Tsunade got into her battle stance. You can try. Sen. Naruto fell to his side. He lost too much blood, passing out. He didn't have much time left. Tsunade gunned it to Naruto, as did Sakura. Tsunade checked his pulse. It was fading. Face. We have to get him to the hospital now. Before one of them could order a medical unit, Jiraiya appeared on a toad. He grabbed Naruto, Tsunade, and Sakura and ordered the toad to step on it. The race to the hospital time was short, but Jiraiya wasn't going to lose Naruto again. The Konoha Hospital Shinobi Wing. Jiraiya burst through the front door of the hospital with Tsunade and Sakura hot on his trail. When Sakura went in, she immediately got into doctor mode. We need a surgery room and B-type blood bags for a transfusion ready now. What's he in for, doctor? A nurse said. Stabbed in the kidney area and bleeding profusely, possible bone fractures to the chest and head. Is that room ready? Sakura yelled. Yes, doctor. Good, I'm going in. Have me prepared. Sakura ordered. "I'll do the surgery, Sakura." Tsunade ordered. "Tsunade, this isn't the time to argue with me," Sakura said, almost threatening Tsunade. "Fine, I'll be your second, Lady Tsunade," a doctor shouted. "What is it?" Tsunade asked angrily. "Shizune-sama was caught in the crass explosion. She's alive but badly burned on her back. She needs you." Tsunade's eyes widened in fear. "Go to her, I got Naruto." Tsunade nodded. She trusts Sakura's skills fully. "What room?" 306. The doctor said. Tsunade nodded and despaired from sight, heading to her niece and daughter figure's room. "I'll need a second surgeon," Sakura said. "I'm there." She turned to see Hinata. Her wrist was in bandages but seemed okay, but Sakura asked, "Are you sure with your wrist the way it is?" Hinata had purpose in her eyes. "I've had worse in training. Now let's save Naruto." Sakura nodded. "Right," she said with a smile. In the surgery room with Sakura and Hinata, Sakura applied healing chakra to the wound while the knife was still in to heal around it to stop some of the bleeding. The blade would act as a cork to keep any more blood from spilling. While they carefully stripped Naruto's upper body, first they removed the gloves and found scared hands from years of fighting, climbing, and training, not uncommon for a ninja. Next came the unzipping of the leather armor. When it went all the way down, using thick sharp scissors they cut from the zipper to around the wound. Naruto's body was a rich tapestry of scars, some burns, others knives, and many surgical. It worried the two, and some of which they themselves put there. His body was well toned, showing why he so easily beat them. It was a mark of someone who took his training very seriously. Hinata and Sakura carefully lifted Naruto onto his left side. Sakura had one of her hands on Naruto's shoulder and the other on his side. Hinata put her hand on the knife handle. She looked at Sakura and raised 3 fingers to start the count. 3.2. 1. Within human speed, she pulled the knife out perfectly straight, and given her still near broken wrist, it was amazing. Both girls put their hands immediately on the part of the wound on their sides and applied the same amount of chakra into the wound while also applying pressure to stop the blood flow. The wound started to glow and close. Hinata's Byakugan eyes double checking for anything they might have missed. She found nothing else. She blessed his luck for that. The last part was stitching up the rest of the wound. Sakura and Hinata were sweating a lot to the layman. The surgery seemed rather quick, but the amount of chakra, skill, and trust both surgeons had for each other was over that of Tsunade herself combined. They are a medical powerhouse, but given the patient and the condition of him, they were extremely vigilant for his health. At the end of the surgery and the stitching of what was left, they wrapped in bandages. Naruto was then stripped down to nothing and they put a hospital gown on him with pants. The old Hinata would have been redder than a tomato at seeing this much of Naruto, but the new Hinata was a dedicated doctor concerned about her friend, now possible enemy, and besides knowing full well how much damage she inflicted on him, she thought it was unfair to see him like this. Now both girls grabbed a side of Naruto and gently placed him on a hospital bed, and unfortunately had to tie his wrist and legs to the bed. The two wheeled him to a private room named the Naruto Suite, a name some doctors used for it jokingly because of his frequent visits to that very room as a child. When the villagers would beat him, it had a bed, an IV, and blood drip medical supplies that would only be used by Hiruzen Sarutobi's most trusted doctors, as he didn't trust most others. The Naruto Suite continued to have that dark humus tittle till Sakura herself heard the name and broke the doctor's jaw and fired him. He wasn't a good doctor anyway. She said the name was still used, but only when Sakura was at a safe 30-mile radius from the place, which she rarely was. Jiraiya was there waiting for the two doctors, freshly bandaged from the attack. "How is he?" Jiraiya asked, worried. "He lost a lot of blood, but we managed to stabilize him, Jiraiya-sama. Now he needs rest," Hinata informed. "I'll stay with him, make sure he's safe. I don't trust a lot of the patients or the doctors for that matter except you two," Jiraiya said, hoping they'd understand. "No," Sakura said bluntly. "Naruto needs rest. You saw him out there. Hell, we're supposed to be Konoha's legends past and future, and we barely laid a scratch on him. If Kamen was telling the truth, and in this situation I think he was, Naruto would have killed us if he wasn't after him instead." What Sakura said made the other two flinch. She spoke calmer. "I don't know what he'll be like when he wakes." But I doubt he'll be happy about it, especially when he sees us. I'll take care of him, Jiraiya, you have my word on that, but until then I'll take care of Naruto. Only I'd also ask, but she's a clan head and is needed to keep them in line. As sad as it made her, Hinata nodded in agreement. Take care of Naruto I mean Naruto. Hinata nodded in respect and walked away. I will. She turned to Jiraiya. Now go back to your room or I'll strap you there myself, Sakura threatened. Before I do, Jiraiya said, then painted a seal on Naruto's room with lightning fast speed. It's a detector seal. If someone goes in there that isn't Yumi, Tsunade or Hinata, I'll come here with murder on my mind. Jiraiya made that part clear. He also placed a seal on Naruto's bindings, reinforcing them. With a nod and one last look at Naruto, Jiraiya hobbled back to his room. After getting Naruto into his room and hooking him up to the heart monitor and IV drip, she went back to her office and fixed a drink and began to write a report on her new patient. Though Sakura seemed calm on the outside, but on the inside she was in shambles. How much could she? Haruno, the second coming of the slug Sanin Tsunade Senju, could have possibly done to her once innocent blonde teammate. The look in his eyes was cold but at the same time angry, hateful even, and above all pain. She remembered everything like it was yesterday, the day that would forever be known as the Naruto incident. Flashback 10 years ago, the loyalty test and the Naruto incident. At the Hokage's office, Tsunade was just about half cut. She had been drinking since early morning. It was now 2 p.m. She tried to come up with the right words. The right way to say it. She wondered if she should use her reasoning or sadness or a cold-cut order to the troops. She didn't know she had sent out Ambu to call 10 members of the Konoha 11 along with Kakashi and Jiraiya, who was already told and had spent days going over and over Danzo's findings to no avail. Heartbroken, he started work on an anti-Jinchuriki seal to nullify Naruto's connection with the Kyuubi. When Tsunade heard the knock at the door, she instantly sobered up from hours of drinking. Enter, she said commandingly as the people she wanted to see came walking in. You wanted to see us, Lady Tsunade, Sakura said respectfully with a peppy smile on her face. She had been having a good day and it hurt Tsunade to no end to see it. Yes, I do, Sakura. Already those in the room could feel the situation needed the utmost attention. Jiraiya's expression of sadness didn't help ease them either. What can we do for you, Tsunade-sama? Neji said with respect. Tsunade was silent for an uncomfortable amount of time till she spoke with sadness. It's about Naruto. At hearing Naruto's name and the sadness of Tsunade's voice and seeing Jiraiya's face, everyone was on edge. What is it, Tsunade-sama? What happened to Naruto? Was it Akatsuki? Did they get him? Kiba said, worried. Is he hurt or lost? Do we have to go find him? Shikamaru asked. Is he going after Sasuke-kun again? Did Orochimaru find out? Sakura asked. Please, Tsunade-sama, what happened to Naruto-kun? This came from Hinata. No, Tsunade said softly, continuing. Naruto is safe and in the village. Shikamaru didn't like where this was going but remained cool, asking, then why did you call us about that troublesome blonde for then, Lady Tsunade? Tsunade tried to find the words then she spoke that would haunt her for the rest of her life. As Hokage of Konoha, I am ordering you all to go on a mission with Naruto to the border of Konoha and Wave, and from there you will take part in his assassination. Confusion rocked the group, but Kakashi and Shikamaru caught on. Kakashi dropped his book he had to his side. Choji, with many others, was a little slower to catch on and said, I don't get it, Tsunade-sama, why do you need us to be there for Naruto to assassinate someone? Besides, isn't he still a genin? Is it for backup? Why isn't he here to then? Choji, Shikamaru said sadly. Everyone turned to him. She doesn't want us there so Naruto can kill someone. She wants us there to kill Naruto himself. Everyone's eyes widened and gasps were heard even from Shino, but it was hard to tell. What, but why, Tsunade-sama? Tenten asked. Why do we have to kill Naruto? Why does he have to die at all? She couldn't fathom the idea of killing a Konoha shinobi, especially one she knew. Is this a joke, Tsunade-sama? Why do we have to kill Naruto-kun? Hinata had tears in her eyes while asking. She thought it was some sort of nightmare she was going through. Is our friend why us? Neji demanded. Lady Tsunade, please tell us this is just one of Naruto's stupid jokes and somehow he put you up to this. Sakura begged. No, Sakura, it's not a joke. Tsunade snapped, frustration clear, having to explain. Jiraiya had to take over as Tsunade got her composure. Danzo came to Tsunade and I with worries about Naruto. He gave us some of his privately funded research he had done on Naruto. He sighed sadly, then continued, the research was done on Naruto's seal. Kida wondered and asked, seal? What seal? His Jinchuriki seal, Shikamaru said, as he already know, but Danzo's a warmongering bastard, why would you take his word for it? Shikamaru ignored the looks he was getting from the others. Naruto-kun's a what? Hinata said after a little explanation about what a Jinchuriki was, which shocked them and totally rewrote everything they know about Konoha's history. Jiraiya finally answered Shikamaru. I've spent 3 months straight doing honest-to-God research on it and paid off just about every source I have and found nothing to disprove its merit. If I found the slightest thing, we wouldn't be talking at all. The truth in his words hurt his listeners. But why send us, of all people, were Naruto's friends and teachers? Lee asked. Tsunade used all her inner strength to face them, answering, that's why you're going. Naruto's not as stupid as most people think, and he doesn't trust many other shinobi. He'll know something's up, but with you all there with him watching his back, he wouldn't see it coming. Shino finished with a quiet voice, hiding his inner sadness. This is bullshit. Naruto may be a Jinchua whatever, but he's our friend. You can't make us do this, please. Kiba's voice cracked with anger and sadness. He was at a loss. Actually, Kiba, I can. Naruto's status as Jinchuriki makes him a major threat to Konoha, and as his closest friends we can't be sure if the Kyuubi isn't manipulating all of you into thinking Naruto isn't a threat, or the Kyuubi himself. This is as much a loyalty test as it is an order for Naruto's death. Failure to do so in this regard would mean you're disobeying direct orders by your Kage, and in Konoha law it is a capital offense. The room went as quiet as the grave. They all had to think long and hard. Why? Kakashi whispered. Why did Minato-sensei pick Naruto to begin with? Tsunade was sad at hearing that. That's an SS-ranked secret, Kakashi. I'm sorry. Tsunade wanted to tell them, but really the less they know the better. Shikamaru knew, and by God he wanted to tell everyone, but didn't. He was of the same mindset as Tsunade to kill the fourth son. It'd haunt them as much as it would him. He couldn't let that happen. When must we take part in this unyouthful venture? Lee said with no enthusiasm. It will take one very long week. I'm telling you this now to prepare and pray, Tsunade said. A week? What happens if we see Naruto? Ino said, a little scared of seeing him with what she now knows. You will have to play it cool like nothing is wrong. We need the week to prepare, Jiraiya answered. For what? Kakashi asked, not bothering with formalities at this point. Tsunade gave a sad sigh. As some of you may know, Naruto is popular in some countries and with the leaders from Spring Suna Wave, and even with Shion the priestess, who once asked him to give her a child. I remember that one, Kakashi said, looking fondly at the memory when Naruto realized what she meant by helping her with an hair. Tsunade nodded. If he dies, and everyone knows how Konoha could lose a lot of allies and revenue, especially with Sunagara, wouldn't stand for it no matter the reason. Naruto needs to die and his body destroyed to also make sure Orochimaru can't get his secrets, or worse, being him back as a dead slave to his will and replaced. Shikamaru thought about it. How do you plan to do that? Jiraiya answered. The last raid we did on one of Orochimaru's bases, I found some of his notes on something called a flesh sculpting technique. When he takes over a body, he uses this to change another dead person's face to make it look like him, so that he can graft it to his host's face, making him look like his real self. Even though it's clearly not his real body, it will have his appearance. That sickened everyone in the room to no end. Tsunade continued where Jiraiya left off. After the Oto Suna invasion, Danzo kept many of the bodies to run tests on. One he found had the same build and height, and one that looked almost just like Naruto from the face. You plan to make a Naruto to be found at a later date, Shino said bitterly. Yes, Tsunade returned. It will be found by Jiraiya, and people will think he just failed his mission and died as a result. It happens a lot, unfortunately, and not many will question it. We are also doing this to give people peace of mind, and it will also be a trap if Orochimaru does try to get the body. This is disgusting, Kiba said. First you want us to kill one of our friends to prove our loyalty, then set him up as a failure. Jinchuriki or not, Naruto deserves better. The Konoha 10 nodded in agreement. Until we don't know if it is really Naruto at all, Kiba. This came from Sakura getting everyone's attention. I don't want to do this either. Naruto is my teammate, but we can't be sure anymore, and I trust Lady Tsunade's judgment. Neji didn't like that. Are you sure it's not because he didn't bring back that traitorous Uchiha you're so fond of, Sakura? She turned to him angrily. It's not that at all. He may be the Kyuubi and save it, Haruno. Hinata said, anger in her soft voice. You have never appreciated having Naruto-kun on your team, someone who was willing to cross hell itself to see you smile, even going so far as to nearly die to bring back that traitor because he knows you care more for him than Naruto-kun's safety. Sakura felt like she was stabbed in the chest through the heart. Is this what they all thought of her, just some child with a crush who's willing to use his Naruto to her own ends? If what Jiraiya says is true, Naruto-kun's life has been a hell on earth with the beating of those bigots out there, to the point where he may have sided with the demon inside to get back at them, and with all the punches, the yelling, and the spite you have for him, don't you think you helped contribute to that? Shikamaru said bluntly. And what of all of you? Was Sakura's retort. Hinata, you've never taken the hard road once. You could have told him how you felt 1,000 times, but you stuck to hiding from him instead. She turned to the others. Kiba, Choji, and Shikamaru, you the third of may have hung out with Naruto the most, but you Kiba were also right there with the rest of us insulting him. Shikamaru, you were just too lazy to give a about the so-called troublesome blonde, and given your smarts you must have known who he was and more, and you Choji, always so concerned with Shikamaru, you didn't give Naruto the time of day. Sakura. Ino said, angry. Quiet, Ino, you were right there with me the most. She didn't bring up Lee or Tenten as they only meet in the Chunin exam, and though Neji did have harsh words with Naruto, he changed after their fight, and Shino didn't say much of anything to anyone, so he was a write-off in that regard. Most of you are in the same boat I'm in when it came to Naruto's treatment in some way, shape or form, and I will not stand by and be the only one taking the blame, Sakura said, making the rest think about their part in all this. She does have a point, though she could have worded it better. Kakashi said, a little disappointed with her, and Jiraiya was still giving her a glare which stopped when she turned to them. Who are you two to talk and look at me like that? Venom was in her voice. Kakashi, you flat out ignored him. Tree climbing in the middle of AA ranked mission against the demon of the mist was his only lesson from you. And you Jiraiya, how many times did Naruto try to treat me to ramen only to find out his savings were gone because you spent it on booze and women? For you disgusting research, you're a Sannin and Konoha's spymaster. Wouldn't you have almost infinite access to Konoha's banks, or did you spend it all on whores and have the access taken from you so you had to steal from your own apprentice? Hell, the only reason he learned the Rasengan from what I got from him was his own skill and drive to do so. Both men were ashamed of themselves for that. Tsunade was wide-eyed at the outburst, but unfortunately it's too late to fix the problem now. It doesn't matter anymore anyway, she said, sadness clearly in the statement. Right now Naruto, if he hasn't already become a part of the Kyuubi in some shape or form more than just the Jinchuriki, he needs to go, and you must be the ones to do so. Shikamaru looked at her. What of you, Hokage? Not wanting to use her name. Naruto made you the Hokage to begin with, got you over your own personal troubles, and sees you as family, something you yourself said is rare for him. How do we know he hasn't already gotten to you? Shikamaru. Ino said softly, trying to stop him. He continued. I've seen Naruto defend Konoha, and his friends have seen him fight against impossible odds when all hope was lost. Now you're ordering his death, yes, but would you back it up yourself? Tsunade looked at him sadly. For Konoha's future I would. Naruto did make me take up the mantle I didn't want. Now that I have it, I must do what must be done for the bigger picture, and that's to save this village. Even at the cost of someone I love. That's way back. In the day I left, I was done sacrificing people I cared about. Many want to be Hokage, Shikamaru, but only a few can actually do the job. I unfortunately am one of the ones that can. Silently they stood. They couldn't believe what they must do, but they saw her point, and as shinobi of Konoha, the village must come first. They looked at Tsunade. Just remember, this is a SS-ranked mission. No one else can know, not even your families. They nodded and slowly left the room. Only Jiraiya and Tsunade remained. How long till the seal is ready? It will be ready for when the time comes. I'll get started on the copy then. Just make sure it's painless, please. I'll try. I guess that's all I can ask. Tsunade said as Jiraiya made his way to the door. When Tsunade had one last question, we're going to hell, aren't we, Jiraiya? Yes, we are, Haim. He exited and Tsunade finally broke down. Naruto, in his regular orange outfit he got from Jiraiya, was walking around the village ignoring the glares pointing at him. He was on his way to Ichiraku's, lost in thought when by accident he bumped into someone turning the corner. Hey, watch it. Naruto. It was Sakura along with Ino. Oh hey Ino, Sakura-chan, how's it going? He said in his usual happy self. The two girls looked at him not knowing what to say to their future target. Naruto looked at them puzzled but ignored it. I'm going to get some ramen, would you like to join? I haven't seen the others today. The two young ladies were even more worried till Sakura said with a small false smile, sure, we can do that. Great, Naruto said excitedly, he grabbing them by the hands, racing down to the place he feels most at home. Ichiko ramen stand. Tenchi was cooking for some customers. Until Naruto walked it with the girls with a glare. A man said angrily, just once I'd like to come here without that thing showing up. The others nodded in agreement. Tenchi looked at the man. Let me solve that problem for all of you, get out and don't come back. The man and his friends were shocked at that. You'd throw us out over that monster? Naruto's head lowered sadly. Of course I would, unlike you people. He's not an asshole. Now out, Tenchi said with finality. The customers left angry, but Tenchi was far from caring, and with a complete 180 in personality he looked at Naruto and company with a smile. Naruto, my boy, how are you today? Naruto put his brave face on. I'm alright Uncle Tenchi, just here to get some ramen with some friends. Stupendous, you and two lovely ladies. He stopped for a moment and was worried. Oh dear, you're not taking after that fool Jiraiya, are you? The two girls blushed and Naruto waved that thought out of his uncle figure's head. Please, I wouldn't be like that. I'm glad to hear that, Ayame said coming out of the storage room. Hi Ayame ni-chan. Naruto waved happily. Hey Naruto ni-san, you don't know how worried I was when I thought Jiraiya-sama would have made you help with his research, she thought, frightened for her little brother's innocence. Naruto smirked. He tried, but I preferred the abridged version better. When everyone looked at him confused, Naruto smiled and for the next hour told them about the times Jiraiya got caught peeping. They laughed at the stories like they were there with him. And then when they finally let him go, he was stripped to his boxers with pervert written on his chest, Naruto finishing his last story. Yep, that sounds like Jiraiya, alright, Tenchi said, wiping a tear from his eye. Go ahead with your friends Naruto, it's on the house. Are you sure uncle I can pay? Naruto took out wallet full of money, making everyone's eyes widen as they saw the fat stack of cash in his frog wallet. Naruto then said, I'll tell you what, I'll pay for Sakura-chan and Ino in a tip, okay? Tenchi was dumbfounded. Okay, was Tenchi's charismatic response. Great, here you go, by ni-chan uncle. Naruto exited the stand. Tenchi waved them off and counted the money and smiled proudly at the boy. Naruto's tip paid for his meals with interest and even the three costumers that left. Naruto, always such a good kid and best customer, he said with a chuckle. Sakura and Ino had a great time with Naruto. Inside they felt nothing but guilt as they walked with him. They noticed more now of the glares sent his way. So distracted by them they almost didn't notice. Naruto stopped and turned to them. Ino asked, what is it, Naruto? Naruto just tried to came up with the words, I just wanted to thank you two for today. I had a great time, but I got to go. I almost forgot. I told Shino I'd help him find some more bugs for his collection. I'll see you two later. As he was about to turn and leave he heard. What, Naruto? Sakura shouted. Naruto stopped. What is it, Sakura-chan? Well, Ino can help Shino with his bugs. We should hang out more, Sakura said. Naruto did like the idea but had to turn her down. I'd like that, Sakura-chan, really I would, but I gave my word and I never go back on it. Sakura understood and said, okay Naruto, I know you well enough, it is your ninja way after all, she said, holding her sadness in. But there's nothing in your ninja way about taking a rain check, Ino said, confusing him. What do you mean, Ino? Asked Naruto. Look, it's not that often you get to see Sakura anymore. With the training you do, this might be your last chance to do so, and it's for a full day too, she said, trying to persuade him. I understand that, but Shino has my word and I Naruto didn't finish his sentence because out of nowhere the man himself Shino appeared. Something came up, can't go today, good day. Shino then vanished again. The dumbfounded group snapped out of it and Naruto smiled. I guess I'm free. Sakura smiled and Ino said. Great, you two have fun, I'll see you later. Ino was going home where she wouldn't be seen for a couple of days, so where do you want to go, Naruto? Sakura asked. I know just the place, Naruto said with a smile. Atop the Hokage monument, Fourth's head dusk. Naruto and Sakura were sitting on the Fourth's head, something she found a little sacrilegious but wasn't too worried about it. The two were watching the sunset, talking about where 3 years apart had gotten them. Naruto sat fascinated by her stories about training with Tsunade and she in turn did the same. Really, you broke your hand 16 times? Naruto said, feeling the phantom pain in his own hands at the thought. Yep, and now I can break boulders with a single punch and still do delicate surgery, Sakura said, fist in the air and a big smile on her face. I'm impressed, all I really have is the Rasengan and Shadow clones. He looked down a little ashamed with the lack of other skills. Don't sell yourself short, Naruto. How many times did you save our lives with those clones, and the Rasengan is the fourth's own legendary technique you learned from a Sannin and the Toad contract. Don't forget that you have a lot to your name, Naruto Uzumaki, she said with her own type believe it grin. Naruto had blush on his face at the kind words. Thanks, Sakura-chan. He looked over at the stars. They talked through the sunset. It's getting late, I should walk you home. Sakura flinched at that. She may not love Naruto, but she didn't want their time to end now, but said softly, okay Naruto, let's go. The two continued walking through the village, Naruto telling stories and Sakura laughing all the way. When they reached her door, Naruto said, good night, Sakura-chan. I had a great time, he said with a warm smile, and all of it hurt her on the inside to see it. She reached over and hugged him so tight he couldn't breathe. Thank you, Naruto, for everything you've done for me. I want you to know how much I appreciate you. Tears went down her eyes, but he couldn't see them. He hugged her back and spoke softly. I'll always be there for you, Sakura-chan. You don't have to worry about that, believe it. She broke contact and waved as he walked away, a genuine smile on his face. When she entered her house, she closed the door, ran to her bed, and cried herself to sleep. Preset day in Sakura's office. Sakura didn't know how much she drank thinking about that day, how kinda gentle Naruto once was. Now he's strapped to a bed just down the hall, unconscious from their battle after 10 long years of thinking he was dead by her hand. Something he returned in kind to his would-be assassins. The boy who was so kind and sincere. He stopped Zabuza, the demon of mist, by talking to him and made the monster of Suna see the light so he could become a kind and caring Cage. With a sad expression on her face, she pulled out a new file. The old one was burned following his death, for secrecy's sake, but not before she read it to see what he was really going through in his own village. The knowledge broke her heart. She pulled out a pen and began to write the forms for the good man turned deadly assassin. Name: Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Eye color: ocean blue. Hair color: sun kiss blonde. Other known names if applicable. The shade. Birth date: October 10th. Birthplace: Konoha. Nation: Land of Fire. Age: 26. Height: 5 feet 9. Weight: 200-210 pounds. Blood type: B. Occupation: Shinobi, formerly of Konoha, assassin currently. Rank if applicable: Genin of Konoha, most likely Jonin level now. Known affinity if applicable: formerly Wind affinity. Shinobi reg hash if applicable .012607. Clan name if an Uzumaki, last survivor of both parents. 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze and Ambu Captain Kushina Uzumaki. At this time, medical reasons. Stabbed in an assassination attempt on former client of Konoha in kidney area by former client, suffered massive blood loss but missed kidney by 4 mms. Name S of assailant S if applicable. Guro Kamen interim Daimyo of Steel Tree. Current medical status: stabilized but is currently unconscious. Name S of doctor S who treated patient. Haruno and Hyuga. Name S of doctor S currently caring for patient. Dr. Sakura Haruno only. Visitor S status: None shinobi or civilian allowed to visit patient until full treatment administered, no exceptions under the full authority of head doctor of Konoha Hospital Haruno. Sakura heard a knock at the door and knew full well who it was. She got another glass. Come in, Tsunade. The door opened and as predicted it was the Hokage herself entered. How is he? Besides the wound that will take a while to heal, being unconscious and tied to a bed down the hall in a private room full of seals, and for being dead for a decade, I'd say he's pretty good. How's Shizune Ni-chan? She had massive burns on her back and glass from an ambu throwing her through a window to save her from the blast. It will leave scars but will be better after the rest of her treatment is done. Tsunade sighed. She used a hell of a lot of time and chakra and was tired. Good. Sakura said, purring the drinks. Tsunade took it, a shot it down and purred another. She looked at Sakura, seeing her tired eyes on her half-drunk face, and put the drink down on the desk. You should go home and get some sleep. I can watch the hospital while you're out, Tsunade offered. The hospital or Naruto? Him and Shizune. I would stay with her anyway and still get some work done, Tsunade said calmly. Then stay with her then, but before you try anything, read this. Sakura stamped the paper with doctor's stamp to make the discussion final and handed it to Tsunade, who took it and read it. You're the only one who can see him. Why? Tsunade said. Outraged Sakura was cold as she said, we. All of us once tried to kill him out of the bigotry and paranoid visions of that bastard Danzo as he was fighting. He broke Hinata's wrist slowly to prove a point and stabbed me in the side. If it wasn't for my healing ability, I'd be dead. He doesn't care about us. I doubt he'd take kindly to seeing me, let alone every one of his attempted murderers, in the same room at once with the person who ordered it. Tsunade was feeling low. Sakura was right, and there really was nothing she could do about it. S for Sakura, T for Tsunade. T. But what about your safety? Naruto isn't the same person we knew. If he really is now the assassin known as the Shade and was really trained by the man himself, then he is deadlier than anyone we have in this village. Even Sasuke couldn't stand up to him for long, and he also beat Lee in taijutsu. When he was just some unknown assassin with the name. It didn't stop you from bringing me out of retirement to handle him. Why should now be any different? T. I know, you screwed up. Tone when I hear it, Sakura, and you're right, I did. Konoha was desperate. I've had to call in favors spanning back to Sarutobi Sensei's days as Hokage the first time around to replace the resources we've lost in the attack. You're only the first of a long line of people I have to make this up to, and many of them aren't coming back. So how do you plan to do that then? Rally the troops, maybe ask Naruto, now that he's a deadly assassin, to forgive and forget and help us clean up this mess for old time's sake. T. I'm going to find out everything we can about Kamen and get all our allies together, plan accordingly, and then find out wherever he's hiding and burn it to the ground around him. He just started a war with us and we need to end it fast. Everything we have is not enough, and Kamen proved it. You don't just blow something up in one of the 5 great shinobi villages, let alone the strongest of them, without having some force to back it up. I mean, his bodyguards alone managed to hold their own against Jonin, and that was just 5 of them, and I doubt they were the best he has. T. I thought the same thing, which is why I want you to do me a favor. The last time I did that I almost died by the hands of the ghost in the other room. T. That is why I want to see Naruto. He and Kamen clearly know each other. Naruto is also the new Shade assassin who was legendary for his meticulous planning as much as combat to almost Nara levels, and I would assume he made Naruto to do the same. What on earth makes you think he'll talk to you, Tsunade? Face facts, he hates us and proved that much during our fight. Sakura was clearly annoyed at Tsunade, who remained calm. I know he does, and we'd have to be morons otherwise not to see that, but he clearly hates Kamen more. He was willing to come to Konoha after 10 years of being off our radar and have it out with all of us. To get to him, it wasn't stealthy in the slightest. That's not something the Shade student would do likely. No matter who they are, he hated Kamen enough that we, the traitors of his trust, didn't matter to him, Tsunade said, trying to get Sakura to understand this, and continued. He may not like us, but I'm willing to bet he'd see that we're his best chance to get Kamen. Sakura was mad at that. The logic. Do you really think he's madder at Kamen than the friends that tried to kill him? He even stabbed me. If it wasn't for my healing factor, I'd be dead. What could possibly be worse than that level of betrayal? When Kurenai casted her genjutsu on him, she saw what he most desired, but it seemed to make him angry instead of happy. She knows what Naruto wants, but she's keeping quiet. She's afraid that if she says what she saw, Naruto will make good on his threat to kill Asuma, and as everyone knows, Naruto Uzumaki keeps his word, so we have to get it from the man himself to talk. Tsunade said. Sakura was tired of the back and forth. Naruto is my patient, my responsibility, no one else is to see him. I don't care if he has the secrets to curing all sickness in the world or knows how to regrow limbs until I say otherwise. No one can see him. This may be your village, Tsunade, but it's my hospital, and when you walk through those doors, I'm the cage here. Is that understood? Sakura said with all seriousness. Tsunade nodded. Sakura had a bad temper to begin with. And it only got worse when she became Tsunade's apprentice. Okay, Sakura, I understand, but I insist on reports about his health and mental stress. That is a Hokage order. Sakura nodded. Fine, I'm sleeping here tonight. Naruto is the only patient that needs my full attention right now. He's on 24-hour watch. Tsunade was walking to the door and opened it. With everything we've done as in Konoha, I will not ask him to join back. Konoha lost that right years ago. Tsunade closed the door behind her. Sakura's head hit her desk and she passed out, sleeping the rest of the night. The following morning in the Naruto suite, Naruto's eyes opened to see the all too familiar walls. How he hated the brown walls, the white privacy curtains, the feeling of the bed. He was on the sounds of the heart monitor. The straps were new, though he saw the seal on them. He know they were Jiraiya's. As he lay in the bed, he thought of old times with his grandfather figure, the late Hiruzen Sarutobi, and Iruka was by his side, passed out from watching over him through the night. He figured that wasn't the case this time. When he heard the door, he laid his head on the pillow and shut his eyes in wait. The person that walked in was Sakura. Of course it was she. Checked the machines, the IV drip, and went to the credenza. Her back turned out. Him in a hospital for shinobi. I know when someone is sleeping or awake. Naruto. He opened his eyes. Figures you would, Haruno. So what am I doing here and not in a prison medical ward in T&I? Naruto said calmly. Those doctors aren't on my level. When it comes to healing, it's just fix you enough to live. We call it meatball surgery. It originated from MASH units in times of war, not becoming for inner village wounded. Sakura informed, still focused on her clipboard. I guess Senju wants me good and healthy for when I'm executed, or more likely sent to Ibiki and Anko to find out what I've been doing for 10 years, but I'll tell you now, I won't talk. Naruto said in the same calm tone. No need to think that I'm the only one allowed to see you, and no, Kurenai didn't tell anyone what she saw. Everyone knows Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze keeps his word, Sakura said. Naruto was staring to the ceiling calmly, his voice a monotone. Just like how you have my word that I'll kill you if you ever call me Namikaze again. Uzumaki only, Haruno, or better yet Shade, you don't get to say my name. Sakura didn't seem bothered on the outside by the threat. Unfortunately for you, Naruto, I can call you whatever I want, but in the respect for you, I'll leave the fourth's name out of it, okay? He nodded. Fine. Sakura went over to Naruto. I'm going to lower the top part of your gown to check your breathing and wound. Is that alright? He continued to look upward. Do I have a choose? No, was her response. Silence was his. She lowered the top part of the gown and this time really got a good look at the scars that riddle his body and muscled frame. She put the stethoscope to his chest. He didn't flinch at the contact, breathing normal. She looked at the wound. It was healing slowly. It most likely hurt now. For the other scars, recognize some of your handiwork, Haruno. He said calmly. Sakura actually felt that one, it hurt, and considering how emotionally dead he sounded, it didn't help. Sakura looked at the scars around his chest. She recognized Kiba's claws, punchers from Neji, and Hinata's gentle fist slash wounds. Some must have been Tenten in his midsection, the seal that marked him for a life of misfortune, the seal of a Jinchuriki with Jiraiya's anti-variation also there, along with the make of a Rasengan burned scars to Kakashi's Chidori, and of course the stab wound of Sasuke's sword. Turn over. Please, she sighed softly. I can't, I'm tied to the bed, was the reply. Do you think you can sit up? He complained. His back was no better, filled with burns and cut scars and what looked to be bug bites. It was clear Naruto went through hell more than once. Not all of the scars were from the team that was ordered to kill him. His arms to a fair amount as well. She wrote it all down in her clipboard and lay him back down and did his gown up. Do you need anything while I'm here? she said softly. And sincerely, my things back and the straps gone. The door opened behind you, he said calmly. I can't, your stuff's being looked at by Ambu and you're too dangerous to be allowed to walk around freely, she said sadly, having to tell him no. Then you gone will suffice. He turned his head away from her, letting her know he was done talking. She nodded and put a call button next to him. Call me if you need anything, I'll be back after to change you bandage. No response was given. As she walked out, she saw Jiraiya sitting on a bench with Kakashi. Jiraiya, what are you doing out of bed? Sakura said, mad at the Sannin. Do you think I can really relax in a bed eating the shit food her while my dead appearance of 10 years is in the next room? Jiraiya retorted. I'm sorry Sakura, I really am, but Naruto is alive and we can just let that go. We did wrong by him and wanted to see him and apologize, or more likely to beg forgiveness, Kakashi said, sadness in his visible eye. Sakura remained strong. You two are in the same boat. Tsunade and I are in, the two former senseis to Naruto. Looked at her. Naruto once had a crush on me, maybe. Even loved me, he was willing to do anything for me. Despite how I acted, he also looked up to you two, his mentors, who even though you barely were there and acted like goofs when you were there, the two men were ashamed of themselves. And she continued, and Tsunade he saw a grandma he did everything for, he brought her back from a trail of self-destruction, but with all that, she couldn't stop the bigotry from getting to Naruto. She looked to them. With all this and more, Naruto still always had our backs and we betrayed him in the worst way possible. I'm telling you this because for over a decade I've relived my choice over and over again. You two need to understand what I'm doing is to keep everyone else from experiencing what I currently am. With that said, Jiraiya without a word left to his room and Kakashi left back home. Nothing they could say right now would be good enough at this time. With a sad sigh, Sakura returned to her duties. The Ambu weapons safe with Tenten, Rock Lee, Ino and Sasuke. In this facility all weapons and armor that is taken from enemy shinobi and samurai is brought here for analysis. Tenten, being the weapons master of Konoha, was looking in Naruto's twin knives with unveiled interest. She adored these blades. She scanned them more than once to find the maker's symbol to find out who the craftsman was. She began writing a report. Weapon S current, former owner, if no. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Weapon S description. Dual Bowie knives. Size. Blade is 8 inches long, 2 inches wide, 1/8 thick, and handle is 4 inches long, 2 inches diameter. Material of weapon S. Titanium from blade to handle. Color S. Green, handle with silver blade. Condition of weapon S. Amazing. Holster S. Black leather. Reason for configuration. Used in assassination attempt against Konoha shinobi and former client Guro Kamen. It's the Rambo 1 Bowie knife. Tenten was still looking at the knives while the others were talking. Lee finally said what they all were thinking. I can't believe Naruto has been alive all this time, and the shade no least. Silence was in the room. Tenten even stopped her report. Ino spoke. Not only that, the power he has now, none of us could take him, and when I tried to possess him I couldn't see his memories, and the pain we felt in our arms like a stinging. What was that? She said, holding the phantom pain. Tenten looked at Ino. It was this, she said, waving everyone over. When they got there, Tenten was examining one of Naruto's gloves. It was leather and went 6 inches from the wrist. What are we looking at, Tenten? Sasuke asked. She turned the glove inside out. On it had a small device in with a string hooked to a ring sewed into the thumb. It caused confusion among them. When Tenten pulled the string, the device shot a small needle out that would most likely go into Naruto's arm. Lee was surprised. Why would he have that? Lee said, and Sasuke answered. My guess, it was there exactly for a Yamanaka in case they did use the mind transfer jutsu on him. Ino looked at him as if he was crazy. How did you guess that? She asked. Naruto knows this in the Konoha clans. While a Yamanaka is possessing someone, they see, hear and feel everything the possessed person does. When you are got him, you must have triggered this trap. He had to get you out of his head. Ino nodded. So because I felt it in his body, the pain followed me back to mine. He came prepared for the likely chance of a fight. She realized, a little saddened. Neji was the next to ask. What about his mask? The Byakugan couldn't see through it. Why? Tenten answered. From what I can gather, there is a special type of seal on it. Jiraiya-sama could tell you more about that. Tenten ran a black light over the cloth mask showing the seal. It also appears to have bits of beryllium in it for just in case the seal didn't work. Ino had to ask, what's beryllium? Tenten was a weapons use in blacksmith. She know her metals. It's the only metal in the world that is invisible to X-rays. Some shinobi have tried using in the past to fool the Byakugan because that's what it essentially is. X-ray vision. Naruto applied it to his mask. My guess is in case it could help hide his identity. If Neji or Hinata tried using it on him, they'd just see an empty void. Sasuke touched his chin. I was thinking Naruto has gotten more clever over the years. Lee looked at Sasuke. Captain, I would like to find out what Kamen was talking about when he said the ninth gate. I've studied taijutsu my whole life, same with Gue Sensei, and I never heard of a ninth gate, and I'm assuming that's what he meant. Lee never called Sasuke by his name. It was clear every time. Lee respected the rank, not the person, but Sasuke understood and ignored it. Same here, but we would have to ask Naruto himself about that, but you'd have to get by Sakura first. Sasuke replied. Lee nodded sadly at that. Not about Sakura but about Naruto. Lee changed his entire outlook on life after he thought Naruto was dead, and he went through 10 long years of self-inflicted punishment because of it. Lee raised his head with sure silent purpose. The others in the room could feel it. I need to see Naruto. I need to look him in the eye and beg for his forgiveness and do whatever he asks of me. Only then can I rock Lee, truly have my flames of youth returned. All in the room looked at him with wide eyes, shocked at his personal mission. Tenten and Neji looked at Lee and secretly hoped their friend and teammate all the best. Lee may have been annoying back then, but they missed that Lee dearly. Do you think he can? After all, we did try to kill him. Sasuke said very straightforward. Lee looked at him angrily. Don't compare yourself to us Uchiha. We had to follow orders and we fight with Tsunade on that, but you, Lee said mad as he continued. You dove in at the last minute to kill him to get those eyes everyone is so obsessed with. We were soldiers following orders. You Sasuke Uchiha were just in it for yourself like you always have been. Lee finished and walked out of the room, leaving Sasuke with a lot to think about. Sasuke looked at Tenten. Is there anything else you can tell us about his armor? He asked, trying his damnedest not to sound bothered, and was doing a good job. Tenten was writing the report while answering. Armor's current owner, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Description: leather light armor. Headgear: black leather hood with green cloth mask. Chest and legs: full thick black leather. Leather going 6 inches from wrist. Armor for leather with black 1/2 balls sewed into them. Armor for legs: green leather with black 1/2 balls sewed into them. Leather belt with dual holsters. Damage on armor: from the zipper to the right side of the middle area therein a long cut by scissors to remove armor during surgery. Seems to have a ring. It has a strange seal on it and has a faint bluish glow to it. On record, I am not an expert, but I believe it might be chakra. I suggest Jiraiya study this ring. Anything else? Naruto also has a green sash that is 2 feet long and silk. It looks like the sash Guro Kamen wore, although there isn't a symbol in it. The armor is Skyrim Dark Brotherhood armor, but green where the red is. Tenten was finally finished her report. Neji, Sasuke and Ino were all wondering the same thing. What has Naruto been up to, especially Sasuke? 10 years ago he witnessed Naruto being attacked by his most trusted comrades. He was in shock when he saw it happening before his eyes, yet when the realization came that Naruto was going to die, he took the chance to finally get the power he needed, only for it to bite him in the flashback. The Naruto incident. Sasuke was walking along the border to wave. Orochimaru got word from his spy network that a large force including Jiraiya, Kakashi and Naruto were on the way there. He wanted Sasuke to check it out, maybe even get his chance to kill Naruto to get his Sharingan to full power. As he made his way to a large cliff looking over a running river, he sensed the incoming group. He jumped in the bushes and watched. The group was none other than the Konoha 11, led by Naruto of all people, a proud smile on his face. He was wearing that stupid orange track suit of his, not as bad as the one he had as a kid, but still for a stealth operation really. The others though didn't look happy. They seemed to Sasuke sad and a little scared of what he wondered. They landed at the cliff. Naruto moved forward and became rather serious for a moment. On the other side of the cliff was Gato's old mansion. Naruto had orders from Tsunade that some of Gato's old employees wanted to attack Wave full force, and since Naruto knew that area he was going to be leading the unit, Naruto was so proud he made sure he was prepared for anything, and Tsunade had his word on that. Naruto was thinking long and hard until a plan came to him as he turned to tell his squad what to do. To his shock and that of Sasuke's happened when Jiraiya charged at him, slamming him in the gut. He felt a burning sensation as he flew into a nearby rock. He screamed in agony as he felt like his stomach caught on fire. As Naruto tried to move, a sword was rammed into his shoulder, pinning him to the rock. He looked up to see Tenten's cold eyes as she moved for Sakura to punch Naruto through the rock. He coughed up blood on impact. As he tried to get back up, he found that his body was moving on his own. He saw Shikamaru looking at him, the same look like Tenten gave him. "Why?" he said in fear and shock. "Why are you doing this?" Shikamaru moved to stand up straight, making Naruto do the said. "It's over, Kyuubi," Kiba said as he slashed Naruto in the chest with his claws. Since Naruto couldn't move, all he could do was scream. Neji and Hinata came in. All Naruto heard from them was 8 trigrams 64 plums. He felt hit after hit as the Hyuga's final was a shot to the chest. Many wondered how he didn't die right there as they moved to let Lee hit him square in the chest. Then head Shikamaru's shadow loosed from the force and Naruto fell to his knees. "You think I'm the Kyuubi?" The sadness in Naruto said he didn't even feel Ino's kunai to the side, Choji's fist to the face, or Shino's bugs biting him, but when Kakashi slammed his Chidori into his back he did feel the burning he was all too familiar with. Naruto stood up out of well, no one really knows, tears in his eyes. "I fought. For all you were like family to me, and this what I get. I wish never met any of you." Sasuke saw the pain in Naruto's eyes. He grabbed his sword. Now was his chance. He flew from the bushes and rammed his sword into Naruto. "I don't know what's going on here, Dobi, but no one kills you but me," Sasuke said with a grin. Sharingan going wild. Naruto looked at him wide-eyed. He was going to die by the hands of his friends, and Sasuke was going to deliver the killing blow. Naruto's eye glow red for a moment, taking Sasuke by surprise. The next thing he felt was an upward slash to one of his eyes. He let out a scream as Naruto fell off the cliff into the water below. Sasuke screamed his eye. The thing he needed to beat Itachi was gone. The next thing he saw was Jiraiya's fist, then darkness. T&I jail cell. Sasuke awoke. His head was killing him. He opened his eyes to find he couldn't see out of his right one. He wanted to check it, but his arm couldn't move. He was in a straight jacket and was chained to the wall, sitting up on a hard bed. Over the years as an Uchiha and as Orochimaru's apprentice, Sasuke became a hardened shinobi, but he still liked having a soft bed when he could. He started to think, "Let me guess, at any point now Tsunade will come through that door and offer me a way back into Konoha. I'll agree and then leave when they're not looking. The council will want to reward me for killing Naruto anyway." He grinned in anticipation. 3 days later, Sasuke was waiting in the dark cell. He was hungry. He hadn't eaten in days and it was starting to annoy him. The door opened to reveal a person dressed in black, wearing a white ambu mask with no paint or any distinguishing look to in. The person pulled up a chair and had a tray of food, nothing really good on it. The person took the spoon and dipped it into some brown-looking chunks of food and brought it to Sasuke's mouth with one smell. Sasuke turned away from it. "You call this disgusting grub food? I would sooner starve." The person took the spoon away and left with the meal. Another person walked by. This one, bigger, calmly walked in. Sasuke looked at him where his eyes should be, behind his mask. "And who are you?" Sasuke got a punch to the face, then gut, then another and another. This beating took place for 5 straight minutes. Then the person calmly walked out, closing the door behind him, leaving a beat Sasuke in the dark. Day 5. 5 straight days Sasuke hadn't eaten, but since the bigger person appeared 2 days ago, Sasuke was getting worried. The door opened and the smaller person came in with the food tray. It looked the same as the last one. When the spoon came to Sasuke's mouth, this time he ate it till it was done. It disgusted him, but it was food. The person left and the larger person entered. This time Sasuke's beat was 7 minutes. Day 10. Like clockwork, every day Sasuke would eat and be beat until the 10th. The waiter, as Sasuke started to call the person with the food, walked in. Sasuke was Just happy it wasn't fists as he called the person. Who would beat him this time? Waiter had a sushi plat. Of Sasuke's favorite types as waiter fed him he actually had same joy in his head it was better even that fists didn't follow but he waited for hours in case it lasted till Sasuke fell asleep he was dreaming of Naruto's final moments his blade was in Naruto's guts he looked into Naruto's eyes to find there were none empty voids stared back at him then red fire burst from them and without warning rushed Sasuke he couldn't finish the dream as a blow to the face was what he felt in the waking world it was fists and for 10 minutes was Sasuke's personal devil. Day 15. Sasuke was trembling he hadn't seen waiter in 3 days and fists arrived more randomly than before. Sasuke was starting to think he died was this his hell nightmares of Naruto were coming more and more. He was starting to feel guilty for what he had done his grip on reality was fading all of a sudden fists came through the door louder than normal he grabbed Sasuke by the neck and threw him against a wall the big guy removed his chains and dragged Sasuke to a room it was the whitest thing he ever saw people in black were walking around the room aimlessly fists tossed him in and closed the door behind him leaving Sasuke in there Sasuke didn't know what to make of it. Sasuke took a chance and walked from one end of the room to the other as he walked he stared to hear shouting, "Traitor, Itachi should have killed you too. Your parents died of shame. Garbage Uchiha, you brother was the only good one." Sasuke heard this and was getting angry until he felt a rock hit him in the head knocking him down the shadows approached him and started to beat Sasuke he screamed for mercy but nothing came only more insults and only stopped when waiter came saved him waiter brought Sasuke back to his cell and rested him in bed where he passed out from the pain. Day 20. Sasuke grew dependent on waiter and terrified of fist in that white room he ate what he got and wouldn't speak in case he angered the person. Day 26 Sasuke has been sleeping with his good eye opened in case fist appears. Day 31. Waiter came in the door no food in had Sasuke was worried about that waiter walked in and gave him a hard right to the cheek the left then a knee to the gut making him throw up. What did I do? He asked. No response came the beating continued for a half an hour Sasuke was bloodied and broken it made matters worse when Fist walked in and grabbed him by the ankle and dragged him down the hall. What's happening? He thought to himself he was brought to another door lifted up and the tossed in he went through the door and hit the ground looking up he saw a table with 2 chairs he was pick up again and sat down hard the big man left the room and the door on the opposite end of the room opened it was Tsunade. Tsunade walked to the other chair and sat down Sasuke didn't say a word not knowing what to say anyway. It's been a while Uchiha do you like your new accommodations? Sasuke didn't respond right away but then asked, what is this Tsunade? Tsunade gave him a promising pain kind of cold look. I will tell you now Uchiha you will call me Hokage-sama now or you'll be spending another month in that hole got it? Yes Hokage-sama. Sasuke answered quickly. Good now I have an offer for you would you like to hear it? Sasuke nodded quickly. What is it Hokage-sama? Tsunade seemed pleased. Here is the offer you came back to Konoha you will keep your family house but all financial well belong to Konoha you will help us destroy Orochimaru's village and the man himself and we put what is called a loyalty seal on you to make sure you live up to your end of the bargain. She finished waiting for a response. Sasuke realized he was getting the short end of the stick but didn't want to go back he realized that he couldn't ride the Uchiha name anymore even though that wasn't his intention to begin with but it did help him a lot over the years. I'll do it Hokage-sama I just want to know something. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. What would that be Uchiha? Sasuke tried to find the words. When I finished off Naruto. Tsunade flinched in her head at that as Sasuke continued. I killed him my best friend for power to kill Itachi and to finally seek my revenge it backfired obviously, his eye still stinging from it, but why did they do it why did you order it to begin with? Tsunade looked at him for a moment, how do you know I ordered it exactly? Tsunade asked making Sasuke look at her in the eye, because if you didn't I would have had a few more cellmates Hokage-sama. Sasuke got the information he wanted and has felt like he was lower the trash since what he saw in Naruto's eyes was not hatred but sadness he had doubts about everything Tsunade told him but kept quiet he spent the next 2 months in jail to get the loyalty seal on him and make sure he knew his place. 3 months later, Naruto's funeral. Sasuke had worked hard in that jail then and was allowed to go to Naruto's funeral. It wasn't a very big gathering, it was mainly Naruto's friends, but the Sand siblings Daimyo Koyuki, the priestess Shion, and those of Wave and some of Suna were in attendance. Many got up to say a few words. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura were sitting together. Next her was a man in a black suit and tie. He had brown hair and eyes with average-looking face. His companion wore a similar suit. He had white hair and beard with yellow eyes. The brown-eyed man looked at the three of them. So Uzumaki is dead and by some backwater bandits. At that shame, how did that happen anyway? Sakura looked at him sadly. He was on a mission. He died stopping some of Gato's henchmen. The man gave them a strange look. Really? Some of Gato's men? I'm from Wave and I didn't hear about that part. His white-hair companion looked them as well. Sasuke looked at the man and said, "You're from Wave, how come I didn't see you when we were there last?" The man gave Sasuke a thoughtful look. "Probably because I moved there years before. I wasn't there during the Gato crisis." Sasuke nodded. "We are in the middle of a funeral, so can you leave us alone?" Kakashi said, "Not in the mood." The man gave him a grin. "Of course, Master Shinobi." The man got up as Tsunade was about to speak and walked away, all eyes on him and as many glares. His bearded friend stayed there as Tsunade was about to speak. "We are gathered here today to say goodbye to a dear comrade, brother in arms and friend, and to some a son. Naruto Uzumaki had fallen in the line of duty to help stop an attack on Wave. Naruto Uzumaki had made many friends in his short time on this planet who I am happy to see here today." Naruto was a firm believer in the will of fire and lived by a nindu to never go back. On his word, this nindu was something only Naruto could have lived by. He saved so many and had passed so young. Tears stared to fall from her eyes. "Naruto Uzumaki, I Tsunade Senju couldn't have become Hokage without you. I couldn't have found my strength if it wasn't for you, and without your cheerful light this world had gotten a lot darker. Thank you for all you have done, Naruto Uzumaki." Tsunade looked at the sadness of the people. She saw Iruka stand and walk to the podium. She nodded and gave him the floor. Iruka stood there for a moment as he looked at Naruto's body, then to the people. "When Naruto first came to the academy, I was worried. I didn't know what to expect for him, and over the years Naruto could be a right pain. Many were leaning in their chairs wondering where he was going with this. But once I got to know him, the real him, and spent time with him, I grow proud of him. Naruto was my little brother. No, Naruto was like my son. I loved him like my own. The night we stopped a Rouge Ninja, Naruto saved my life." Iruka pulled out a headband. "This was mine once. I gave it to Naruto that night to show him no matter what I would always be there for him, but I failed in that, and I hope that the boy that brought so much joy to all of us could forgive me and know that he will never be forgotten." He looked at the body and said, "Believe it." Iruka went back to his chair next to Kakashi, who couldn't even look at him. Gaara was next. Naruto had a way of making people see the brighter side of things. Because of him I was able to earn the respect of my people and rise to be the Kazekage of Suna. I was in the darkness and he showed me the light, and for that I am eternally grateful. Like my siblings, I count Naruto as a brother to the end. May you never be forgotten, Naruto Uzumaki." Gaara walked over to Iruka and gave him a bow. "I am sorry for your loss, Iruka-san." Iruka stood up and shook his hand. "Thank you, Kazekage Dono. Call me Gaara, it is your right to do so." Iruka nodded in respect. "Thank you, Gaara." Gaara nodded and returned to his brother and sister. Many spoke about Naruto Inari, about the hero of Wave and the great Naruto bridge. Shion gathered them in prayer, which many of the former Konoha 11 were hurt by, and Kyoki wished to write a book entitled Land of Snow to Spring. Hinata didn't really know what to say as she sat in her chair, the tears running down her cheeks. On the outside she just looked like any other mourner. On the inside, at hearing so many people talk about how good of a man Naruto was, it hurt badly, and the fact that they're saying these things to a body that wasn't even his just made it worse. A hand was gently placed in hers. It belonged to Shino of all people. Even though he looked as neutral as normal, the bit of gripping told her otherwise, and she turned to Kiba to see a tear going down his eye. Neji took the stand. "The day I met Naruto I didn't think much of him. I thought he was just some clanless fool who wouldn't just accept his fate in life. This was something I tried to beat into him, but instead he won, and instead of rubbing my nose in it, he picked me up and gave me a chance at friendship. Since then I've managed to see the world in a different light and truly know even just a bit of the freedom it can give you. Thanks to you, Naruto." He went back to his chair where he rested, a hug from Tenten. As the casket was being lifted up by Gaara, Kiba, Kakashi, Neji, Jiraiya and Lee with Iruka walking in front, they brought it on the long walk from the Hokage Tower to the village graveyard, through the village with the mourners in tow. Many of them saw the villagers and shinobi with smiles on their face. The demon child was finally dead. Many were cheering silently. Many more said insults at the casket. This stopped with a blast of ki by Gaara, but the damage was done. Naruto was brought to his final resting place in the clanless shinobi sector of the graveyard, where it was put to rest. When the final prayer was said, they meet at a bar. Shion was telling them story of after Naruto had saved her, and she asked if he'd help her with getting a child, and his reaction when he found out what she meant. It got a laugh out of the movie star turned Daimyo Kyoki. Ibiki was telling them about how Naruto passed his test without answering a single question and passed on courage alone. Iruka was proud of that and told stories of Naruto's pranks that brought smiles to their faces, especially Anko. The former Konoha 11 were quite at their table as Sakura scanned around the bar. She noticed the two guys from earlier. She couldn't help herself but go see them. Kakashi noticed and was right on her heels. "Excuse me," she said, getting the yellow-eyed Mon's attention. "What can I do for you, Shinobi-san?" He asked. Sakura wanted to know something. "How did you know Naruto?" she asked. "I used to run with Zabuza's pack," he said bluntly. "Before he died I just got out before wave." Kakashi was a little shocked about that. Why is one of Zabuza's henchmen here? Wanted to see what all the fuse was about. This Naruto guy doesn't seem well liked here. "Why do you say that?" Kakashi asked, and the man answered. "I saw and heard the villager for myself. They were happy to see him go. How did he die again?" That worried them. Now if someone in Zabuza's group could say that Gato's men didn't try to attack wave, it could be a problem. The man looked at them for a moment. "Never mind, it's not my business, just wanted to see who Naruto Uzumaki was to you." He looked at his friend. "Let's go." The other person nodded and followed him to the door. Sasuke didn't like what he heard but didn't know what to do. All he could do was mourn the loss he brought upon himself and hope one day Naruto's sprite could forgive him. Present-day Konoha Hospital. Naruto was studying the seal on the straps when the door opened. It was Sakura. She had same new bandages with her. "I'm back," she said. "Good for you," was his reply. "So when do I get out of here?" He knew the answer but asked it anyway. Sakura looked down sadly. "I'm sorry, Naruto, that's not going to happen. Even if you were healed, you attacked Konoha shinobi. That's not something you can just walk away from." Naruto's eyes stared into hers. "That was more retaliation from me to you, and the only difference between walking out of here and escaping is the body count. Haruno, it is up to you to decide." Sakura couldn't believe what she just heard. Naruto picked up on that. "Don't look so surprised, I'd say. That Haruno, I have no love for Konoha or anyone in it. Almost everyone I did like left when they found out how I died." She looked at him. "You didn't die, please. Naruto, you were once a good person, a kind, gentle man who cared for everyone." He chuckled softly. "You're right, I was that a stupid back then, a foolish child thinking I could become Hokage, always shouting to believe it, but that Naruto died in wave and you all killed him." Sakura was hurt by that. Tears were in her eyes, but Naruto wasn't done. "You have one more day, Haruno. After that I'm getting out of here whether you like it or not." She was shocked. "Don't be crazy. I don't know what Kamen did to you, but you're in Konoha. All have Ambu and everyone on you before one day, and after that all bets are off." Sakura ran out the room, leaving Naruto there. She charged down the hall to Jiraiya's room. The Sannin saw her and his eye were wide as she told him what Naruto said. "Get Tsunade now." Sakura ran to Tsunade. Naruto was in his room calmly looking in the ceiling. Kamen in his head. He squeezed the bars on his bed making them bend. "Kamen, you will die," he thought to himself. The door bursted open, revealing Jiraiya flying in the air. He rolled and got into a battle stance. "That was dramatic, old man," Naruto said, unimpressed. "I guess Haruno is allowing visitors now. Figures she couldn't even do that right." Jiraiya looked at him. You're talking about one of the people that saved your life, Naruto. Naruto shrugged. She also tried to take it once, so I guess we're even. For now. I heard what you said, we have a day to release you. Naruto nodded. Shade Sensei trained me for one target, one kill, but you're sorely testing my patience on that. Jiraiya flinched. Naruto, I know Kamen is your target, but why? Who paid you to do this? I'll pay double, no triple what they're paying if you stay and stop this, Jiraiya pleaded. Naruto shook his head. I wouldn't be very good at my job if I was bribable, Jiraiya. You are Konoha for that matter couldn't afford me if I wasn't its personal. Anyway, Jiraiya was on his knees, tears in his eyes as he looked into Naruto's cold gaze. Naruto, please, I'm so sorry, we all are. I want to make it up any way I can. Me, Tsunade, Sakura, everyone that cares for you, even Sasuke, that got a glare from his former godson. You disgust me, Jiraiya. I've killed for countries and daimyos and organizations for years. Whether or not I liked it, it was my duty to protect what was dear to me. He stared at the groveling being before him. You did your job, Jiraiya. The only thing that I hold against you from back then was that you made a liar out of me, but now it was defeating the man that took everything I cared about. Jiraiya's eyes widened. What? What do you mean? His voice failed him, his hands could barely support his weight, water clouded his vision, and the realization that Jiraiya of the Sannin was so weak. Naruto shook his head at him. I cannot believe how pathetic you are, Jiraiya. You are a disgusting mess. Either man up or leave me. Jiraiya found his strength and got up. Whatever he did to you, I'll help you, Naruto. I mean it, I swear it to you. Naruto looked at him. I could use a drink maybe from that flask you've been hiding. Jiraiya pulled out the flask, removed the lid, and gave Naruto a sip. As he got closer, Naruto spat the drink on the straps and head-butted Jiraiya, and with a good pull removed the bed handle from the bed. With enough speed, Naruto managed to hit Jiraiya again with the straps. A liquid seal, you are slipping, Jiraiya. The alcohol ate away the seal, making the straps normal. He ripped them off and ran to the door. Jiraiya yelled, what did he take from you? Naruto looked at him. My wife Chi and my daughter Kyoko. She was 4 years old, Jiraiya. Naruto then left a broken Jiraiya where he lay. Naruto was in the hallway. He turned to see Sakura and Tsunade running to him. Naruto, Tsunade yelled. Her eyes were that of worry. Naruto charged through a nearby window, Ambu following. Sakura and Tsunade saw in Naruto's room a beaten up Jiraiya. Tsunade ran to him to snap him out of it, saying, Naruto is hurt. If he doesn't get treatment, it will only get worse. Jiraiya was laying there in tears. Tsunade, I lost my chance, he said, shaking. What? Sakura said, not understanding. What chance? Jiraiya looked at the young woman. I lost Minato and Kushina. I wasn't there for my godson when he needed someone the most. Because of this village, Jiraiya couldn't hold it any longer and fell to his knees. I tried to kill Naruto for this village and I lost the closest thing I had to being a grandfather. He said the last part quietly, but the two women heard him and were shocked. What? What are you talking about? Sakura said. Jiraiya looked at them. Kamen killed Naruto's family, his wife and 4-year-old daughter, and we helped him escape. The two doctors in front of him gasped in the shock and sadness. Naruto, still in his hospital gown with matching pants and bare feet, was running from rooftop to rooftop, heading towards the Ambu base. It may sound dumb to go directly to such a heavily guarded area injured after breaking out of the hospital you were being held. In fact, it was downright stupid and he knew it, but he needed to get his things. He figured Tenten was researching them already, but he wouldn't allow his chakra ring and especially his knives to be Konoha property for long. His injuries were starting to hurt like hell, but nothing his years of training didn't prepare him for. As he ran, a shadow jumped in front of him. He jumped for a kick but missed it. Of course, in a village full of ninja, you'd be the one I'd face. Naruto turned to the one person he had more than enough of dealing with, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, by order of the Hokage, you are to surrender immediately. Naruto looked at him for a moment, a little surprised, but then gave him an impassive look. That's shade to you, Uchiha, and I'm getting my things and leaving this hellhole. If you try to stop me, I'll tear out the other eye. Sasuke pulled out his sword and removed his jacket, preparing to fight. I don't want to do this, Naruto. None of us do, but I will not disobey the Hokage. Naruto wasn't in the mood That didn't stop you before Uchiha. You know the only mistake Itachi ever made was leaving you alive, but he always insisted that you were the best of your family. Sasuke looked wide-eyed at Naruto. You've talked to Itachi? Naruto grinned. He's like a brother to me. Sasuke looked at Naruto, trying to calm down. I know what you're trying to do, get me angry so I'll make a rash and stupid move, but it won't work. I'm not the same man I was once, Naruto. Naruto kept the grin. You were never a man, Uchiha, just a boy whose only goal was power, to the point where you'd kill your best friend. Sasuke got in his stance. Naruto did the same. Naruto was looking at Sasuke, the wound on his side. Hurt, but he needed to get back to hunting Kaminen. That was all that mattered. Sasuke got used to fighting. With one eye his Sharingan was active, his sword was at the ready. He lost to Naruto earlier while protecting Kamen, but Naruto was injured this time even though he didn't think it would help much. His lone eye was focused on the blonde before him. This time I'm going to kill you, Uchiha. No Haruno or foolish sentimentality is getting in my way, Naruto said. Sasuke tightened his grip on his sword. I'm taking you in alive, Naruto. I'm going to find out what happened to you and help you be the person you were once before. Get it through your head, Uchiha. The Naruto you knew is dead. You killed him like you always wanted. I am the shade now. Naruto vanished, surprising Sasuke, who then blocked a kick from Naruto, but it sent him flying to a wall. Sasuke was still standing, but his arms hurt. You're strong, Naruto, I'll give you that. As Naruto went for a punch, Sasuke it and delivered one of his own. Naruto tilted his head so the punch missed. He gave Sasuke a knee, but Sasuke blocked. The two moved away from each other. If you're not going to use that sword properly, then get rid of it, Uchiha. Sasuke looked at the sword, then back at Naruto. I'm trying to take you alive, Naruto. You are annoyed that you are in the way, Naruto said to Sasuke's side. His fast. Sasuke thought. Naruto grabbed Sasuke's sword, arm twisting it so Sasuke was facing him, then shoulder tackled him, releasing his grip on the sword, disarming him. Naruto now with Sasuke's sword attempt to stab Sasuke while he was on the ground, but Sasuke rolled out of the way. As Sasuke stood, he avoided a backhand slash from Naruto, but it managed to cut some strands of Sasuke's hair. Naruto moved to get him, switching the blade to his underhand. He hit Sasuke in the stomach with the butt of the handle, then swung left for a vertical slash. Sasuke moved quickly enough so it wasn't a killing blow, but got a cut across his stomach. He held it in pain but remained focused. Naruto wasn't lying when he said he'd kill him. Did you think the Sharingan was going to save you, Sasuke? Naruto said, kicking him in the chest, dropping him to the ground 5 feet away. If there's one thing Lee proved is that those eyes can't read taijutsu moves. He went for a swipe to Sasuke's neck, but he got back up in time to move out of the way. Even then, thanks to me, you only have one anyway. Sasuke was calm. He got into a stance when others arrived. Kakashi and Gue being two of them to help. They didn't know what to make of it. No one has ever seen Sasuke use that stance before until Naruto piped up. So the Uchiha family fighting stance, haven't seen that in a while for obvious reasons. Sasuke ignored that last part in favor of saying, so you know my family's fighting style? Naruto nodded his head to conform. My sensei showed me. He went by many names, Uchiha the Bloodline Hunter being one of them. Bloodline Hunter. Hyuga Fuma Uzumaki Namikaze Senju Uchiha. These are only a few families and clans that have incorporated fighting styles to their main abilities or bloodlines. My sensei, the original Shade, trained himself to fight these people. To know how to fight is one thing, but to understand it is to defeat you enemy, he'd say. What does that even mean, Naruto? Sasuke said. Naruto shook his head. It means he incorporated these clan fighting styles to his own taijutsu library, meaning he was the only one strong and smart enough to go after the strongest of the so-called unstoppable clans and win. Many of the shinobi in attendance were amazed at his words. He trained you to do this? Sasuke said. You'd be surprised what an actually capable teacher can show you, Uchiha. Kakashi felt like he was punched gut with that comment. We'll see if you can then, Naruto. Sasuke got ready and charged at Naruto with a punch from Sasuke. Naruto moved to the side and was sending the sword to the back of Sasuke's head, but he turning around for an uppercut to the chin. Naruto caught the hand and flipped him. Sasuke spun around and landed on his feet and charged again for a double leg kick. When Naruto moved and Sasuke's feet hit the roof, Sasuke jumped backflipping, bringing a foot down on Naruto, who blocked. Bishing his arm while Sasuke was falling, his free leg kicked Naruto's injured side. Naruto grunted his teeth together and moved back, holding his side. Sasuke went in for a chop to the neck to knock Naruto out, but Naruto went for a stab. Sasuke moved, then hooked Naruto's wrist back, checking him, and got his sword back, only for Naruto to kick the butt of the handle, making fly from Sasuke's grip into a wall. Naruto grabbed a handful of Sasuke's hair on the back of his head and elbowed him to the back of it, then pulled him backwards for another elbow to the chest. Sasuke allowed himself to fall so he could bring up a kick to Naruto's cheek, knocking him back. As Sasuke's back hit the ground, he spun for a leg sweep. Naruto jumped it and came down with fist. Sasuke move. As Naruto fist went through the top of the roof, Sasuke went for another low kick to the kneeling Naruto's face, only his head got down lower, avoiding it, then using his arm hooked Sasuke between the legs. Not a nut shot, he lifted him up and Naruto put his free hand on Sasuke's back and brought him down in a body slam. Sasuke denting the top of the roof with his body, he tried to hit Naruto's side again, but the Uzumaki moved, delivering a hard right to Sasuke's face, then another. The next one Sasuke caught and brought Naruto close enough for a headbutt, making him step back. Sasuke's nose was bloody but not broken, and Naruto had a cut on his left eye but was seemingly unfazed by it. Tsunade, Sakura, and Jiraiya arrived to see the fight. Sakura noticed blood on Naruto's side. Damn it, some of his stitches opened. She thought, "You're too heavily injured, Naruto, you need to stop," Sasuke said calmly. Naruto looked back at him and said, "I'm not the only one bleeding, Uchiha." Sasuke countered with, "My injuries aren't life-threatening, Naruto, yours are." Naruto knew Sasuke was right. He had to make this a quick fix and he knew just how to do it. Naruto vanished and was seen by Sasuke's sword. He ripped off his gown so only the pants he had on were left. His stitching was opened and it worried Tsunade, Sakura, and Jiraiya. "Tell you what, Uchiha, why don't we see what you can really do?" Sasuke looked at him questioningly. "How do you propose I do that?" With a grin, Naruto said, "Use your great fireball. I'll come at you with this poor excuse of a sword and we'll see who's better." Sasuke, as well as everyone else, thought he was nuts. "Are you crazy? That could kill you, Naruto." Tsunade yelled. "Do I look like I have much to live for? Senju, Jiraiya must have told you what I've lost." He turned back to Sasuke. "So how about it, Uchiha? Are you going to be a man for once in your life, or are going to stand there and die like a bitch?" Sasuke couldn't believe what he just heard, but if he put just enough into it, he could just injure Naruto enough to send him back to the hospital. It was a gamble, and he mentally prayed to any god that was listening it wouldn't kill him. Naruto got into a sword stance as Sasuke was putting his hands together when they heard Tsunade shout, "Wait, it might as well have been a go." Sasuke did the hand signs. As Naruto charged, Sasuke yelled, "Phoenix Flower Jutsu," and spat a giant fireball at Naruto, who charged directly at it. When it was getting closer, Naruto moved at the very last minute but kept the blade in the fire as he charged. When he got to Sasuke, he went with a downward stab. Sasuke moved easily and the burning red sword was embedded into the roof. What happened next came as a shock. Naruto broke the burning blade in two and with the piece in his hand pressed it against the wound. He clenched his teeth with the pain, but he managed to cauterize the wound closed, and when it was done, through the blade a Sasuke who dodged. "God damn it, that hurts every time," Naruto said, sweat pulling down his face. "But you did exactly what I wanted, Uchiha." He looked at his shocked former friend and grinned slightly at his expression. "I can't believe he just did that to himself," Sakura said. The remaining Konoha 11 showed in time to see the display and were shocked. Rock Lee looked at Naruto's display of self-medicating and thought sadly, "Naruto, this is what you have become because of my actions." Naruto turned to the amassing crowd of shinobi. Until his eye fell on Tenten. "Tenten, where are my things?" She flinched at the seriousness of Naruto's voice, but found her resolve. "Your former weapons, armor, and ring are property of Konoha till further notice, Naruto." The killer glare he sent her way froze all who saw it. "Don't think for a moment that I wouldn't cut the information out of you, Tenten. You have my word on that." She saw the utter anger in his eyes, but she was a Kenaki of Konoha and wouldn't faltered. You have my answer, Naruto. He nodded in understanding. Then you're next, he said so coldly she could almost swear she saw his breath as he said it. Naruto, Lee shouted, making him roll his eyes. What is it, Lee? Lee had resolve in his eye. I am sorry for what I have done to you, Naruto. I followed orders, but at the end it was my choice to go after you. I beg you for forgiveness. Please just surrender. I do not want to lose my friend again. Lee got on both knees and bowed his head, begging, and please do not harm Tenten. She is my comrade and their safety comes before my honor. Naruto turned his back to Lee. I don't care about that. Lee, as I told that fool Jiraiya, I've killed for far less and can't fault you for following orders, missed placed or not. Everyone in attendance was surprised. Even Sasuke, as Naruto continued, you are a soldiers. The lot of you. I am an assassin. I kill for money and sometimes you have to do things you wish you didn't. For the bigger picture, Naruto's eyes grew angry, but with that said, I don't forgive easily either. You cost me Kamen, the man that butchered my wife and child. Gasp. Were heard Naruto was married and was a father. Hinata had tears. Neji, Kiba, Choji, as well as most of Naruto's former friends were saddened by the news. Many more were crying. Kakashi felt a stab in his heart. Naruto number was all. Kakashi said he destroyed his student's chance at killing the man who took something worth more to Naruto than his own life. The death Sasuke's parents pushed the man over the edge, but Sasuke could only imagine what Naruto was going through. Senju, the lives of the people here mean nothing to me. Most of them have crossed me in some shape or form, and I remember all of them from shinobi to civilian. Many of the shinobi were frightened. Nothing should scare these shinobi, but a Jinchuriki with Naruto's heritage, trained by a legendary assassin, was an exemption to this, and Tsunade knew it. Naruto, if we go to the council with this, we could come to an arrangement. You could have Konoha's backing. Kamen attacked us. We could join forces and stop him together, she said. Naruto thought about but shook the idea out of his head. Konoha has nothing to offer me, and my allies don't trust any of you, and most of these inept shinobi couldn't even kill me as a child, not for lack of trying, and Kamen saw to it that Konoha doesn't have any funds left to pay for any partnerships. How could you possibly help with Kamen and his people when you can't even help yourselves? Tsunade stood her ground. Naruto, you have my word. I will find a way. Naruto was getting a read on her. Your word means nothing to me, Senju. Only actions make what you say truthful. Tsunade looked at Tenten. Go get everything that belongs to Naruto. Make sure that nothing is to be withheld. Tenten nodded and disappeared on her way to base. Tsunade looked at the shinobi and ordered, all shinobi return to your duties now. She turned to Naruto. How's that for you? He nodded. It's a start, Senju. She returned the nod. Sasuke, go to the hospital, and Naruto, please follow. I want to check the wound. Sasuke nodded and looked at Naruto before leaving. I'm fine, Senju. Nothing I haven't been through before. Naruto replied. I don't care, Naruto. This isn't negotiable. Naruto signed. Very well. The two left back to the Naruto suite.